Welcome, welcome, and good evening to Your Estate is Your Business. Future proof your family and your business, the hidden risks that could destroy everything and how to fix them now. Right now, I want you to imagine. Imagine you wake up in a hospital bed after a terrible accident. You can't move, you can't speak, your family is outside the room panicking. Your business is in limbo. Your wife or husband is trying to access your accounts, but is denied. Your employees don't know what to do. Everything you built is suddenly at risk. Scary, isn't it? Well, my name is Eldoni Mason. As you can see, I am the founder of Mason Firm, LLC, an entertainment, business, fashion, and estate planning law firm. And at 18, I left the shores of Antigua, stepping into the unknown with nothing but ambition and a dream. I arrived in New Jersey, determined to carve out a future for myself. By 25, I became a lawyer, and not just for the title, but because I wanted to make a real difference for the people like me, entrepreneurs who put everything on the line to build something of their own. As I built my own law firm, I saw how fragile success can be when legal protections aren't in place. I met business owners who worked tirelessly for years, only to have everything fall apart because they didn't have the right estate plan, succession strategy, or asset protections. I realized that entrepreneurs aren't just running businesses, they're building legacies. But too many don't take the steps to future-proof what they have built. That's why I created this webinar, Future-Proof Your Family and Business, to show you how to protect your business, your assets, and your loved ones from the unexpected. I know firsthand what it's like to build something from the ground up. I've faced challenges, uncertainties, and a risk of entrepreneurship. Don't we all know it? If you're feeling that right now, you're an entrepreneur here in this room, you could just drop a little heart in the chat, right? You know what it's like to really put everything on the line to own a business. That's why I'm committed to helping business owners like you secure your future, protect your hard work, and ensure your family and business are taken care of no matter what happens. So let me set the stage for you, what we're doing here. Tonight, I'm going to show you what happens to your business if you pass away and become incapacitated. Why not having an estate plan can leave your family locked out of your assets, how to create a business succession plan that keeps your company running smoothly, and the legal documents every business owner must have to protect their family and their wealth. This is me right here. I have been a lawyer for 20 years. I know, it's so crazy. I really don't know where that 20 years went, but here we are. And every day you are still alive, that's mean that every day you can make your dream come true and do something great. So I am just thankful for being here. So why are you here? Why are you here this evening? You're here because you've worked too hard to build your business just to have it all disappear if something happens to you. You don't want your business falling apart if you're suddenly not around. You don't want your spouse or kids to be locked out of your accounts, scrambling to figure things out while dealing with grief. You don't want the government or the courts deciding who gets what. You want to make sure your business survives without you. You need a real plan, one that ensures your family is financially secured and your business continues to thrive no matter what happens. You don't just want to build wealth. You want to protect it for the people you love. And if any of these reasons resonate with you, feel free to drop that number in the chat that speaks to why you showed up on a Thursday night at 6 o'clock to talk to a bunch of people, like 2 people you may or may not know. Now, what is estate planning? So let's really look at the basics. Some people hear estate planning and they're kind of like, what exactly is that? Some might know a little bit about it, not too sure. But what is estate planning? Estate planning is not just for the wealthy. It is a legal strategy to ensure your loved ones are financially and legally protected if something happens to you, and also that your business could continue, right? So here, we're looking here, and estate planning includes wills and trusts. And wills and trusts do two separate different things in your estate plan, right? If you want to avoid probate, you're going to have to create a trust, and the will be there, but the will is only going to be there to capture assets that you might not have transferred into your trust. Your power of attorney. As a business owner, this document is very, very important because it will allow others to do things on your behalf if you become incapacitated. Go to the bank, different things like that. So that's your power of attorney. And then your healthcare directors are critically super important. Why I say that? Because this is going to control, if you, God forbid, you're in an accident, you want to make sure you have those directives in place. So when your family or your loved ones are grieving, they don't have to make that decision about whether or not, to take you off life support, what kind of treatment you should receive. And I'll tell you a story about Terry Shriver, a really sad case coming out of Florida. It was about 1995. Terry Shriver was 26 years old. And she goes into cardiac arrest at home, falls down, and by the time they got to her and resuscitate her, she was completely brain dead at that point. She is now in the hospital. She's married at the time. She has kids. And after about 3 months, the doctors realized there's no bringing her back. She's going to be a vegetable. That was going to be her fate. She had no planning documents at all. Like most people that are young, it's like, I'm young, I'm healthy, I don't really need to think about estate planning at that point until this kind of thing happened. And so she is now at the hospital. They're still treating her. Her husband, who is her guardian now, he held on for 8 years. He held on to hope for 8 years, thinking she will come back from this persistent vegetative state, even though she was like brain dead at that point. She's like, medicine will advance. She is coming back. After 8 years of holding on, she never came back. So now he goes to the court to petition to take her off life support. Her parents challenge him and say, no, you can't take her off life support because she is still here. Our daughter is still alive. They then go and fight it out in court for years and years. It goes all the way up to the Florida Supreme Court. It goes to federal court. It hits, I think George Bush was president at the time. It hits his desk. It's up and down, up and down. All this stuff is playing out. All the time she is in hospice, right? The family are just like completely torn apart. After all of that, 15 years after she first went into cardiac arrest and was a complete vegetable and brain dead, she was finally taken off life support. This is why healthcare directives are so important, because healthcare directives contains your living will and your medical power of attorney. You get to choose now. Now is the time when you get to choose what happens to you if you happen to be in a situation like Terry Shriver. You don't want to be the Terry Shriver case, right? You want to be able to make those decisions now for your family so they know what your decision is and they don't have to be fighting about it. That's why your healthcare directives are important. Now, if anyone on here has minor children, another key piece of your estate planning is naming guardians for your minor children. Not just in a will, but outside of a will. Because what happens in a will? A will never kicks in until you're dead. So if you're incapacitated and you need someone to take care of your children, you can't look to your will, because that's not going to happen, right? Because that will is not kicking in until you're dead. So you want to name guardians for your children in a separate document outside of your will. And you not only want to name long-term guardians, you want to name short-term guardians. Think about it this way. you want to look at, say, if you're in a car accident, you want a short-term guardian, say like your neighbor or someone close within, say, 10 minutes of your house, that could come and hold on to your kids before like the long-term guardians to get there, right? Say the long-term guardians are living further. Not only that, you want to make sure that when you are naming guardians, you're also doing extra planning for your children, right? They will need their own set of little mini healthcare documents, just in case you can't take them, you're incapacitated, that someone can take them to the doctor on your behalf. So that's why your estate planning should contain a piece of guardian for your minor children. Now, when it comes to asset protection in your planning, that dovetails back into trust. So say, yes, you're a business owner, but say you and your spouse both die, now you leave minor children. If you have no planning, what would happen is that all that assets could flood to those kids when they're still young, which no one wants. Like, no parent wants to, for what will happen is that their money will be managed by the court. The court will appoint a guardian, and the guardian has to get paid. So now you're draining money from their inheritance that could go to your children. And that's no asset protection. But with trust planning, you could protect assets and create generational wealth at the same time. All this you could do with comprehensive estate planning. Now, estate planning, as I mentioned some of those stories before, estate planning is critical. And the devastating reality without a plan from a business owner's perspective, picture this. James is a successful entrepreneur. He built a thriving business, provided for his family, and had big plans for the future. But when he suffered a stroke at 42, everything changed overnight. His wife couldn't access his bank accounts, funds were frozen. His team had no idea what to do. Since James had no plan, within months, his business collapsed, leaving his wife and kids struggling. The state stepped in and made decisions for his family. It took 2 years to settle his estate. Now, you can think about where you are right now in your business. And would you really want, after you spend so long building up your business, would you then want someone to just step in and dictate what happened to that business? That's what happens when you don't have a plan. So the lesson here is that it's not just a big business problem. It's a you problem if you haven't put the right legal protections in place. Why it's critical to have estate plan. So what is business succession plan? A business succession plan ensures your company survives if you retire, become incapacitated, or pass away. It allows you to appoint the right people to take over. It prevents financial and legal chaos. It keeps business assets protected and ensures business continuity for your employees and clients. So this became very real to a mother that I was advising last year, because we were having some discussion because her son, this was like her second marriage. She had a son from a previous relationship, and his dad owned multiple businesses, and his dad got sick, but there was no estate planning done. At the time when he was whole and hale, he had no estate planning done. And literally on his sick bed before he went to have some major surgery, his unscrupulous business partner had him sign a bunch of stuff, like a power of attorney, allegedly a will. And, he pulled through surgery, but then he died. He died later. Now, his whole estate is in flux. And this lady, her son is the only legitimate heir, but the business partner is like, there's a will, but he wouldn't produce the will. The will is probably not even valid because they did it really when this guy was drugged up on his sick bed. But what he did too, he had that power of attorney done, and the business partner started transferring the assets away from the person that died is the owner of the business. The business partner, it's not really like a partner per se. He was working for that guy, and he started transferring out the assets, right? So he has this power of attorney. He's transferring out the assets. A power of attorney is only valid while you're alive. This guy passed away, and that unscrupulous person was still going to the banks to try to take money out and moved around a whole lot of assets after the guy died because he didn't tell anybody the guy died. I mean, you might not have this kind of crazy going on in relationships around you, but this is why doing planning when you are alive and well and hale and whole in all your right mind and have all your faculties is so important, because of like these unscrupulous behavior people could suddenly come up with, because money can tend to change people. So now she's going to have a fight on her hands to try to get her son's inheritance, and probably going to have to sue that business partner to claw back things he transferred in his name illegally. Again, the best way to prevent all that is to do planning. So based on that story, here it is again. Why does business succession planning matter? The unplanned disaster. A successful entrepreneur built a thriving business but had no succession plan. He passed away. Suddenly, his wife had no legal authority to run the business. Employees panicked and clients left. The business collapsed within months, leaving the family financially devastated. Remember, even in a family-owned business, if you are the business owner and your name is on everything and no one else has any authority to do anything because the buck stops with you, this is what will happen if you have no kind of business succession plan. No one can do anything. No one can access accounts. No one can do anything. And as entrepreneurs, I know we are Superman, super women. We are wearing multiple hats. Our name is on everything. No one's name is on anything. It really does stop at us. So if we don't do anything, the business won't go anywhere. If we, like, God forbid, drop dead today, the business goes with us. That's not the legacy you want to do, right? You want to create a legacy that could go on for another generation. You want to make sure your family will not become financially devastated because you're no longer in the picture. So the lesson here is protecting your business means protecting your family's future. And if you're all here with me, because I know I'm going like rapid fire, just if any of this is resonating or you're thinking like, yeah, I need to get some stuff done, just drop anything you can in the chat. Thumbs up, something you are just thinking, yeah, I need to take care of stuff. Because then you won't be here, right? So what happens to your spouse and kids without a plan? As I keep mentioning, without any plan, your bank accounts can be frozen, leaving your family with no access to money. If your name is on everything and no one else is there with you and no one has any authority to do anything, how can people get access to accounts? And since your business operation comes to a halt, your revenue suffers, stemming the flow of income again to your family. And you could have lawsuits and creditors' claim could drain your assets, which could have gone to your family, because what happened now? Everything is piling up. They don't have access. Things are tied up in court and probate, and depend on how many assets you have and the size of your business, it might take a while to unravel everything. So now let me bust a myth here, as we see from the Terry Shriver situation, when some people say, I am too young to need estate planning. I mean, what is too young to need estate planning? Everyone who's like 18 and older probably needs some kind of planning. Depending on what you have, and your story will depend on the level of planning you need, but everyone needs some kind of planning if you want to control what happens to you and your assets. Because tragedy doesn't wait. Protecting your family is a now type of decision. And if you're married and you have a business and you're thinking, well, my spouse will automatically take over my business, unless in your corporate documents, that's what it says happen. It doesn't work that way, because without legal documents, your spouse has no authority to act on your behalf. And if you're having like that shock feeling like, what? But okay. So even in the healthcare situation, right, you still need documents. And estate planning is only for the wealthy. No, that is a big misnomer, because as I just mentioned, estate planning is for anyone who wants control over their own future. If you want to control how your assets are left, that's why you do planning now. So what's the benefits of proper estate planning? Proper estate planning will ensure your spouse and your children have immediate access to financial resources. It guarantees your business continues without legal disruptions, keeps your wealth protected from predators and lawsuits, and you can avoid probate, saving time, money, and stress for your loved ones. So let's look at the flip side of that, the cost of not planning. Now, say you have an estate, your estate ends up in probate. That is your business and your personal assets, and the total of all your assets together is $2 million. Probate costs is generally like 5% of your assets, right? Give or take. And that's if you could get all your stuff out, your probate could be wrapped up in a short period of time. Business owners, depending on the type of business you have, you might have like a lot of stuff. If you have, because a service business, maybe not much, but say you're doing products or anything, you have a brick and mortar store, you have inventory, you could see how not planning and then just dumping that mess in your family's lap could just be a crazy nightmare beyond like this probate cost we're seeing here of 100,000, right? It could be so much more. And that depends again on the size of your business, what you have. And all the time, everything is locked up in court. Your family doesn't have access to anything. And it's just so they lose you, you leave them with a mess, and they got no money. That's not a good look, right? And another thing that happens to the cost of not planning, is that your assets could get lost to the State Department of Unclaimed Property, which currently stands in New Jersey at $6 billion. Yes, you heard me right, billion with a B. And let me tell you what those things are. So these assets are for people who live in New Jersey that either some of them are still alive and they just forgot, maybe they had a security deposit return or something someone owed them and they could no longer find that person. So they have to, by law, give it to the state. The most case scenario is someone dies. You don't know what their assets are. So it ends up there in the State Department of Unclaimed Property. Because think about it, right? We live in a digital age. Everyone has so many pieces of digital assets. Not only that, you have a lot of bank accounts that you do not get a paper statement for in the mail. You got things on auto pay. So I like to tell people, think about it this way. No one knows what you have. You have an inventory, your assets, your bills, everything that you have. So if you got stuff on auto pay and nobody knows about it, what's going to happen when you die? It sells on auto pay and it keeps deducting until, well, if you had it on your debit card, well, your debit card expired. But if it's attached to your checking account, then I guess it just deduct until your family finally, if they knew that checking account exists, will close it out to stop the flow, right? But the days are gone when people just wait when someone dies, someone goes to the mailbox and wait to see the statement comes in so they could know what you have. Yeah, that's not how it's working today. This is why you should make sure you plan. Now, the other thing we kept talking about is that your assets are frozen. Your family can't pay the bills, leading to the psychological, emotional, and financial damage. So the cost of not planning is not only monetary, it is emotional. And then look at this. Your business is shuttered and your legacy ends. How crazy is that? So now you know the cost of planning. Would you like to see a solution I have come up with to help you and your family? Now, if you want to see a solution that could help you to avoid the costs of not planning, give me a thumbs up in the chat. So I will tell you what that looks like. The solution here is introducing this new plan I came up with. It's called the Future Proof Your Business and Family Plan, a step-by-step, attorney-led process to help you secure your business and your family. So what does it look like when you're future-proofing your business and your family? One, we do business succession planning. so your business stays in trusted hands, meaning everything doesn't go like all crazy. And then two, we're going to do estate planning because your business is only one piece of you. Now we got to take care of you and your family. So estate planning essentials, wills, trust, power of attorney, healthcare documents. And if you have minor children, they need their own documents, guardianship documents, their own little mini medical power of attorney, long-term, short-term guardians. We take care of the kids. And then we're going to do some asset protection, right? That dovetail into doing wills and trusts to keep your creditors and lawsuits and taxes from draining your wealth. And not only that, we can set up your family members, your children with creating generational wealth to make sure your legacy continues. Emergency decision-making powers, your families get immediate access to cash and control. And so pretty much you're getting a legal blueprint. And there's like so much more that this plan entails that I am not going to go into minutiae detail here. But if you are interested in learning more about that, you can act now to future-proof your family and business, because you know what? Life is unpredictable. And if you don't have a plan, the government has one for you, and no one, most likely, not gonna like it. So you could take control of your future now and book a complimentary future-proof your family and business game plan call. I will drop the link in the chat for anyone who's interested in learning more about how you can protect your family futures now. Because if you have a business, which is why most y'all are here, and family, and you don't want to leave them with a mess, you can book this call and we can chat about it in private about how we can help you here at Mason Firm to future-proof your family. Thank you all for listening.